From confronting predators who showed up completely naked,
Could you explain yourself? I'm sorry.
to exposing high-ranking government officials who thought their badges would protect them,
Oh, dang!
You don't want to touch anybody.
these were times when arrogant predators got destroyed by Chris Hansen. Starting with John Kennelly, who made history on To Catch a Predator by showing up not once, but twice in the same weekend. And the first time, he didn't even bother wearing clothes. In August 2005, the Fairfax, Virginia sting was in full swing. Kennelly, a 43-year-old from Arlington, had been chatting online who he thought was a 12 or 13-year-old boy. But Kennelly didn't just show up to his house. He showed up completely naked, except for his socks for whatever reason.
Certainly. I'm sorry. What's going on here?
He would stand in the garage counting down from 100 with his eyes closed, waiting for the boy to also get undressed. When Chris Hansen walked out, fully clothed, mind you, Kennelly's eyes shot open. Hansen asked what he was doing there. Kennelly stammered, claimed that he was just role-playing, and he insisted would never actually do anything.
And said, I'm going to get involved in an internet conversation with a 14-year-old boy. I'm going to go to his house, strip naked, and walk in with a 12-pack of beer. This was just something you thunk up today.
Hansen read back his chat logs, graphic discussions about what he wanted to do with the boy, explicit instructions about getting naked together, plans for sexual acts. Kennelly tried to backpedal, saying it was all just fantasy. The evidence said otherwise. But here's where it gets absolutely insane. The very next day, Kennelly showed up to a McDonald's to meet what he thought was a different underage boy. This time, he at least wore clothes. When Hansen confronted him for the second time in 24 hours, Kennelly's excuse?
Been at a loss for words.
Sir, I just came to
But
get
I
something
don't
to eat.
even know what to ask you first.
Hansen wasn't buying it, neither were the police. Kennelly became the first predator in the show's history to be caught twice, and cemented his legacy as one of the most reckless predators ever featured.
Last night, you walked into a home naked, hoping to meet a 13-year-old boy. You said you were sorry. It was the first time you'd ever done it. And within 24 hours, you're back on the internet chatting up another 13-year-old kid? What is going on?
Years later, he was arrested again for exposing himself to two 15-year-old girls in a park. Seems like he's too arrogant to actually learn his lesson. However, Kennelly's bizarre behavior was nothing compared to what came out of the mouth of a certain deli worker. In May 2006, the To Catch a Predator crew set up in Greenville, Ohio, a small town where they wanted to test if predators existed in rural America. They got their answer when Jeffrey Stacy, a 27-year-old deli worker, drove to the sting house after chatting online with a girl he believed was 14 years old.
I'm gonna go up and get ready, okay?
Okay.
Wait at the bar for like 5 minutes and then follow me up, okay?
Stacy had spent days talking to the decoy about taking her virginity. He was explicit about his intentions, and he showed up ready to follow through. But when Chris Hansen walked into the kitchen, Stacy's demeanor completely shifted.
Do me a favor and just have a seat right over there on the other side of the bar. How's it going?
What made Stacy unforgettable wasn't his excuses, it was his voice. High-pitched, squeaky, somewhere between Mickey Mouse and Winnie the Pooh.
Probably a whole lot of nothing.
A whole lot of nothing.
Maybe a kiss or two, but probably wouldn't go farther.
Stacy responded to every one of Hansen's questions with defensive, cartoonish protests. Hansen confronted him about the chat logs. Stacy had told the girl he wanted to be her first, that he wanted to do it with her, that he brought protection. When Hansen read these messages back to him, Stacy delivered his now iconic responses.
Ask her if she's a virgin.
I ask everybody all kinds of stuff. It's just talk.
Do you sleep naked?
What's wrong with what's asking questions?
Every answer sounded like a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar, except this wasn't about one man, one jar, it's about an underage girl. Hansen methodically walked him through the chat logs, and with each revelation, Stacy's voice got higher and more defensive. He squirmed, he deflected, he tried to minimize what he said.
I know, but you're asking a question to somebody who identified themselves as an underage girl. And in this state, depending on the circumstances, that is against the law.
It didn't work. Stacy was arrested, convicted, and sentenced to 6 months in jail.
Sheriff's office, get your hands up, get on the ground!
He was later removed from the sex offender registry in 2017 and reportedly got married. But his high-pitched protest became one of the most quoted lines in To Catch a Predator history. But that was just a deli worker with a squeaky voice. Things were about to get a whole lot worse when a federal agent walked through the door. In January 2007, the Riverside, California sting caught 51 men in just 3 days, making it the largest single operation in To Catch a Predator history. Among those 51 was Michael Burks, and he wasn't just any predator. He was a Department of Homeland Security agent working for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Burks had been chatting online with a decoy he believed was 13 years old. The conversations were explicit, the intentions were clear, and when he showed up to the house, he walked right into Chris Hansen's trap. But Burks was completely convinced his badge would save him. He told Hansen about his law enforcement pedigree, his position with DHS, his credentials. He tried to paint himself as someone who would never do something like this.
I work for the Department of Homeland Security, okay? I was not going to do anything with her.
Every cop in this country, you put a bad mark on him.
I know, sir.
Hansen read him his own words from the chat log, graphic, undeniable messages to someone he believed was 13. And Burks responded with one of the most desperate appeals to authority in the show's history. A St. Michael's medal. He actually brought up his religious jewelry as proof of his innocence. Hansen didn't care about his badge. He didn't care about his father. He didn't care about the medal. The chat logs spoke for themselves. Burks was arrested on the spot. The fallout was swift and brutal. Burks was fired from Homeland Security and sentenced to 1 year in federal prison. The man who was supposed to enforce the law had become a convicted sex offender. But as arrogant as Burks was with his badge and his credentials, he had nothing on the next guy, a man whose chat logs were so graphic they became legendary on forums like 4chan and meme culture. In April 2007, the Ocean County, New Jersey set up a $3.5 million beachfront mansion in Mantelow King. Over the course of the operation, 28 men were arrested, but none of them became as infamous, as quoted, or as shameless as Anthony Palumbo. Palumbo was the only predator in this particular sting targeting a boy instead of a girl, and his chat logs absolutely vile.
You asked him in your chat if he was top or bottom. What does that mean?
Did I ask? I don't remember.
Are you top or bottom? I'm horny, you say.
I was just fooling around.
Well, if you're just fooling around, then why were you so concerned about knowing whether or not he was a cop?
We're talking about messages so explicit, so graphic, that they've become the most quoted lines in To Catch a Predator history for all the wrong reasons. When Chris Hansen sat down with him and started reading back what he'd written, Palumbo didn't deny it. He didn't minimize it. He just kept repeating the same phrase over and over. Hansen would quote him, "You wrote, you can fit a soup can up my..."
Meet a teenage boy after this sexually explicit conversation.
I thought it was like I wanted to hang out with someone, like a friend. Like I thought he was like 18, something like that. It wasn't, I'm not gay or anything.
Palumbo sat there, unfazed, like he was discussing weekend plans instead of attempting to meet a child for intercourse. He showed no shame, no remorse, and no awareness of how completely depraved his messages were. He was calm, he was casual, he acted like this was a completely normal conversation. Hansen pressed him on why he came to the house. Palumbo told him a sad background story about his father had once broken his mother's nose and dumped boiling soup on his head as a child. But that tragic story didn't excuse what he'd done. Palumbo was arrested, convicted, and sentenced. But even that wasn't the end of his story. In 2019, he was arrested again and spent time in Rikers Island. That man learned absolutely nothing. And if you think a guy with no shame is bad, wait until you see the final example whose arrogance reached the limit. In August 2005, during the Fairfax, Virginia sting, Chris Hansen encountered what would become one of the most shocking catches in To Catch a Predator history. David Kay was a 55-year-old rabbi and the vice president of Panem, the Institute of Jewish Leaderships and Values, a national organization dedicated to teaching and mentoring Jewish youth. He was a respected religious leader and someone parents trusted with their children. and he showed up to have intercourse with a boy he believed was 13 years old. Kay's chat logs were disturbing. He sent explicit photos of himself. He gave the boy detailed instructions on personal hygiene, like teaching him how to wipe properly and stuff. Then, he drove to the Sting house, walked through the door, and came face to face with Chris Hansen.
So I'm gonna help you. Why'd you have to see me like that? Try to have a seat.
But unlike every other predator, Kay wasn't there to make any excuses. He got aggressive. When Hansen revealed who he was and started asking questions, Kay immediately turned it around. He demanded to see Hansen's identification multiple times.
I don't understand why I can't pass some identification.
I'm more than happy to tell you who I am. I am Chris Hansen with Dateline NBC, and we're doing a story on computer predators.
He demanded to see Hansen's identification multiple times. He wanted proof that Hansen was actually with Dateline NBC, as if that somehow mattered, as if showing a press badge would make the chat logs disappear. Hansen calmly explained the situation, but Kay wouldn't back down. He became increasingly hostile, increasingly combative, and then he did something no predator had ever done before. He tried to physically attack the camera crew. Security had to intervene.
Oh, no. Come on.
Oh, dang.
You don't want to touch anybody. You don't want it.
The man who was supposed to be a moral authority was now being held back from assaulting people because he got caught trying to molest a child. The fallout was devastating. Kay was arrested and sentenced to 78 months in federal prison. That's 6.5 years. He lost his position at Panem. He was banned from his own synagogue. His reputation, his career, his entire life destroyed. And if you want to see even more satisfying moments of predators getting exactly what they deserve, like the aftermath of a math teacher blaming weed for meeting up with an underage girl, check out our video on the most satisfying karma moments in Hansen vs. Predator.